Here we go. We got 15 games tomorrow. If you're a fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets, they don't play. They don't play tomorrow. They're the only team that has the night off. I know that because I went through all the logos except Columbus's. So I'm like, all right, that's who's got the day off. They earned it. They earned it tonight. So let's go ahead and jump right in. At 11 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Eastern, so 2 p.m., 11 a.m. my time, Carolina gets things started against the Minnesota Wild. So for Carolina, they're 11-7-1. In October, they were 8-3-1. In November, they're 3-4. So again, great October, middle of the road November, and they're trying to get back to 500 this month. Minnesota, on the other hand, at 7-11-1, they were 4-9 in October. In the month of November, they're actually 3-2-1. Their record in November has actually been okay. Now, when we look at the scoring over the last 5 games, and I picked 3 forwards, one off of 3 different lines, and 2 defensemen for the scoring for each team. Dzingel, a goal and 2 assists. Teravainen, a goal and 5 assists. Netchus, a goal and 4 assists for him for Carolina. On the blue line, Slavin with an assist, and Pesce with 3 helpers. On the Minnesota side of things, Zucker, a goal and 3 assists. Koivu, a goal and 2 assists. Parise, 2 goals, 2 assists. On the blue line, Suter with 3 assists. And Brodin gets himself 1 assist as well. Now, if we're going to get into who's going to view this game as being more important, I think it's kind of both. I would think that Minnesota, they want to keep digging their way out. They as a team, have to feel they have a chance. And for Carolina, you don't want to be 3-5 this month. You want to get to 4-4, and you want to move beyond this. So it has been a rough November for some teams that have had a pretty good November or pretty good October, and it's been a great November for some teams that had a rough October. So that's kind of how these things work, and this is why we have parity in this league. Parody, not Parody, Parity. Tired and all that. Anyways, moving along. Winnipeg at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock my time. Winnipeg will be in against Tampa. Should be an interesting matchup. Because the Winnipeg Jets are 11-8-1. They started the season in October at 6-7. In November, they're 5-1-1. They've had a very good record in November. Now, whether they're playing really, really well or there's some good fortune going on there, it doesn't matter. The fact is they're getting the wins. On the Tampa Bay side, they're 9-5-2 in the month of October. They were 6-4-2, disappointing by their standard. And then in the month of November, they've been 3-1 thus far. They can win tomorrow, go to 4-1. We can start talking about how Tampa Bay has recovered from a really rough month of October, again, by their standards. They don't want 62 wins this year. That's clear. When we look at the last 5 games, Patrick Laine, a goal and 3 assists. Roslovic with a goal, and Kopp with 2 goals and 2 assists. On the blue line, Pullman with 3 helpers. Pionk with 2 helpers. On the Tampa Bay side of things, Braden Point, a goal and 4 assists. Palat, 3 goals, 2 assists. Killorn, 4 goals and 2 assists. And on the blue line, Hedman with a goal and 5 assists. Sergachev with 2 helpers. So this is one of those games where we're going to see 2 teams wearing blue and white up against each other, and may the best team in blue and white win. I have a funny feeling Tampa's due for a nice long run. That 9-3 win the other night over the Rangers may be a warning to the rest of the league. It might just mean that New York's got really bad defense. That might be what it is. And it's weird because we are a month and a bit into the season, and already I'm starting to see people going, well, Trouba's not necessarily as great as advertised. Right. And at the time that trade went down, I went, yeah, he's an improvement over Pionk, but not by the leaps and bounds that people thought at the time. And so far into the season, Pionk looks pretty good in Winnipeg. Trouba is a pretty good defenseman, but the expectations, I think, were a little bit high, especially given the contract that he got. So while I'm a large fan of Trouba in general, I still think Winnipeg did pretty good in that trade, getting their first-round pick back, which became Heinola, and getting Pionk on the blue line. I think they did all right. That being said, moving along. Dallas and Edmonton. This will be 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. There's a few games that start at this time. So I will be doing 2 reviews tomorrow. after the matinees, and then after the regular games, splitting her up because I'm not doing a review of 15 games. No. The new pretty numbers I'm using for reviews, I don't want to have to make magnets of that many numbers. I'm already at a ridiculous number of them, and I don't want to have to like double that because there's 15 games. Now, Dallas is 10-8-2. Their record, not so bad. In October, they were 5-8-1. They started 1-7-1, but in November, they're 5-0-1. And I saw them in Vancouver last night. They're playing pretty well. On the Edmonton side, they're 13-6-2. After a 9-4-1 October, it was expected they'd probably have some kind of an adjustment. Nope. 4-2-1 in November so far. Pretty good. It's been a pretty good run for them. Now, over the last 5 games, Tyler Seguin, a goal and 3 assists for Dallas. Radulov, 2 goals and an assist. Faksa, 3 goals, 3 assists. If Seguin and Radulov are going to start going on a bit of a run, and they showed in Vancouver that they might be set to do that, we could see Dallas get even better. Heiskanen, a goal and 3 assists on the blue line. Lindell with 2 assists. Edmonton's going to be a great challenge. Draisaitl, 2 goals, 12 assists in their last 5 games. I don't diminish Draisaitl. I don't think most people do. And here's the thing, for fans of Leon Draisaitl that get mad about him being diminished and because everybody always talks about McDavid, I would think he loves this. I would think he loves the fact that he goes out there, scores a ton of points, and everybody's just talking about his line mate, which means maybe he doesn't get as much attention as Connor McDavid. Maybe things are a little bit easier for him than they would be if he was the main guy and everybody's keying on him. So I don't think Draisaitl cares that he's kind of in the shadow of Leon or of Connor McDavid. You know, anytime he's been asked, I've never heard him say, "Oh, I hate this. I really wish everybody would pay attention to me." No, I think he knows how the whole media thing works, and I think he's like, you know what? That's fine. You go ahead and pay attention to him. Nugent Hopkins, 2 goals, 2 assists, and Chason with a goal and an assist over their last 5 games. On the blue line, Clefbaum, 5 helpers. He's been playing pretty well as well. And Ethan Bear with 2 assists. So things for Edmonton are going much better than expected. And Dallas is finally back to the kind of record that was expected at the start of the year. Moving along. Calgary and Arizona will also play at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Now, Calgary's 10-8-3. In October, they were 7-6-2. For November, they're 3-2-1. They don't really get on runs here. They're not really producing in a way that was expected from them. Arizona, on the other hand, doing pretty well. They are 11-7-2 overall. In October, they were 7-4-1, and in November, they're 4-3-1. Now, a couple of those are shootout wins, so overall, their standing really, for me, hasn't been positively or negatively affected by their run in November, but the fact there's no negatively impacted by the run of November means they're still doing pretty well. On the scoring side, over their last 5 games, Johnny Gaudreau, 2 goals, 2 assists for Calgary. Kachuk, 3 goals, 3 assists, and Ryan has a single goal. On the blue line, Rasmus Anderson with 3 helpers, and Noah Hannafin with a goal and 2 assists. On the Arizona side, Schmaltz has slowed down. He's got 2 helpers in their last 5 games. Keller with 2 goals and an assist, and Richardson has 1 helper in their last 5 games. Highly unlikely Richardson gets to the kind of goal-scoring totals that he did last season. Chychrun on the blue line with 2 goals, and Osterley with 1 assist over the last 5 games for Arizona. This could very well be the best game that starts at 4, and yet I think they're all going to be pretty good. I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with everything going on tomorrow, especially when we get into the 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific starts. But anyways, I'm going to do my best, and I get to change boards. Vegas. For the Las Vegas Golden Knights, they're in against the Los Angeles or Angeles Kings. The Angeles Kings, 7-11-1. It sounds weird, doesn't it? The Vegas Golden Knights, 9-8-3. Vegas in October, 8-5-1. In November, a troubling 1-3-2. Very troubling record for them this month. And now they're back on the road in LA. LA was 4-9 in October, but in November, 3-2-1. So they've kind of started to turn it around a little bit. This rivalry, I give it till about 10 seconds into the first before it gets started. Whether it's Doughty that starts it, Reeves yelling something from the bench, a hit by Carrier, something's going to cause this game to become interesting. So while this is another one that starts at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, that'll be one I want to follow as well. Carlson with a goal and 3 assists in the last 5 games for Vegas. Marchessault, 1 goal, 3 assists. Stastny stands out with no points in the last 5. McNabb with 1 helper, and Nick Holden with 1 helper as well on the blue line. Over to the LA side. Iafallo, 2 goals, 3 assists for LA. Toffoli with a goal, and Kempe with a goal as well. On the blue line, Walker, a goal and 2 assists. He's been very hot and cold this year. And Doughty with 1 helper as well on the blue line. So when you look at it and you look at the overall numbers, you might go, well, clearly Vegas should win this. But when you factor in Vegas has won 9 out of 20 games, there are no gimmies. And they need to stop viewing games that way if they are. They need to get back to the hard work. They need to get the scoring going. And they need to hope that Marc-Andre Fleury starts putting up the kind of numbers we know that he can. It kind of feels to me like in year 1 you had Vegas. They were the band of misfits. And, you know, this misfit bunch that nobody wanted. They rallied around each other. Year 2, it felt like they brought in some skill, and there was still a feeling there that this team could really go somewhere. And now I don't know what the team's identity is. I think the biggest thing with Vegas is team identity. Are they hard-nosed? Well, not really, because they've got all this skill now in the top 6, so that's kind of different. Do they have a team that's really, really skilled? Yes, but the bottom 6, there's guys in there that, again, you might not see in one of those pure skill teams. Their defense doesn't really have that offensive catalyst that you see on some of the contending teams. And again, with Marc-Andre Fleury's numbers being not quite Marc-Andre Fleury's lately, I think they're struggling to find an identity. I think that's a big thing. And I think that's when you're losing leads late, I think there's a confidence issue. Interestingly enough, the one team that's not playing is Columbus. They asked John Tortorella, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but it was very recently, about the fact there's so many blown leads in the NHL right now. And he said the league's getting basically along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, younger and dumber, meaning that as the league gets younger, you have fewer veterans that are capable of protecting leads, and you get all these kids that try to play too pretty. So I've seen that with Vegas in their home games. Being on the road in LA might be the perfect elixir for what's been concerning them lately. We will see. Moving along. Capitals and the Bruins start the evening games. So after this one and the other ones I've already talked to you guys about, that's what will be in the first video. And then we start with the 7 o'clock games Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific here. 14-3-4 now is the record of the Capitals. And in October they were 9-2-3, and now in November they're 5-1-1. So they lost tonight against Montreal, their first loss in regulation in November. Boston 12-3-4 overall. In October they were 9-1-2, and in November 3-2-2. So only winning 3 out of 7 in November. That is concerning. The Capitals, they have this history against Boston. It's not great. They're saving Holtby for this game. The Bruins are playing Halak because Rask, as far as I can remember, Rask's numbers against Washington aren't very good. Washington usually seems to dismantle the Bruins, at least in this generation, and we'll see if that happens again. On the Washington side, over their last 5, Oshie has a goal and an assist. Wilson, 3 goals, 2 assists. Stevenson, no points. He's been prominent, but he hasn't had points. Carlson on the blue line, a goal and 7 assists as he cruises to that Norris Trophy. Orlov, 2 helpers. On the Boston side, Pasternak has slowed down, 2 goals and an assist. Krejci, a goal and 4 assists, and Sean Corrali with 1 goal for Boston. On the blue line, Chara, 2 goals and an assist, and Grzelcyk, 2 assists. One of the toughest names to say in the NHL right there. And you look at that and somebody goes, it's Grzelcyk. You go, nope. Because the Y's at the end and the Z's over here. Try again. So, yeah. It is a fun name to try to say, though. I know I butchered it for a while. So, we'll see what happens with this one. Because, again, they almost have identical records. Boston just has the 2 less wins. They both have 3 regulation losses and 4 extra points in there. It should be a great game between one team that won tonight and one team that lost. We'll see how they do on the second half of back-to-backs. Gonna be fun. Next up, last one on this board is Ottawa and Buffalo. So, yeah, I have the 3-game board here. I didn't think it really mattered. On the Ottawa side, 8-10-1 is their record. October, 3-7-1. And in November, they're actually 5-3. Now, a lot of that's at home. Their road record is not great. At home, they're pretty good. I think they're 6-4 now at home after that win tonight. Now, Buffalo, they're 9-6-3. In October, they were 9-2-2. Month of November, they're 0-4-1. So it's been a steep dive for them. If they lose this game tomorrow night at home against Ottawa, I don't know if that's bottom, but it's getting close. Because then they would also have lost more games than they've won overall if you combine overtime losses and regular losses. Now, points in their last 5 games. Duclair with a goal and an assist for Ottawa. Paul with 3 assists. And Ennis with a goal and 3 assists. On the blue line, Zaitsev with 2 helpers. Borowiecki, 1 goal, 2 assists. That's another one, too. You look at this name and somebody says, how do you say that? And you go, Borowiecki. They'd go, no. There's way too many. There's no T in that, so Borowiecki doesn't work. And you go, yeah, no, that's fine. On the Buffalo side, Eichel with a goal and an assist in their last 5 games. VC with no points. And Skinner with a goal and an assist. So there's some guys who need to get things going for Buffalo. On the blue line, Ristolainen, 2 assists, and Dahlin with 2 assists. One thing I'm wondering, too, is if Buffalo continues to struggle, does that mean that Jason Botterill will start looking at potentially moving Ristolainen? Does that come back up? If he feels like this team needs to figure things out and make things turn around because he can't afford to miss the playoffs again, not that his job's in any danger, but just you don't want the team to miss the playoffs again, does that mean Ristolainen may hit the market again? Or is Ristolainen still on the market and he's waiting for the right deal? Some interesting times for Buffalo. The kind of interesting times Sabres fans want to go away. That being said, I now have to change boards again. And we are still in the 7 o'clock starts. Notice 4 more that start at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. It's going to get really busy for me tomorrow at 4. I used to do live streams on Saturday nights while I would watch hockey games, and then I would just put all the stats on the boards at the end of those games. Because of the way I do notes now, I can't. That being said, you guys know I'm watching the action when New Jersey goes into Montreal tomorrow. New Jersey, very interesting right now, 6-8-4. And a very hard-working team that's getting some pretty good goaltending from Blackwood, and pretty good is kind of understating it. Now, in October, they were 2-5-3, and in November, they're 4-3-1. So they're getting better. On the on the Montreal side, October, 7-4-2, November, 4-1-1. Montreal's getting better. That win tonight over Washington was the real deal. Dropped another one. Anyways, 4-1-1 for Montreal. And we'll see whether or not they can get to 5-1-1. I don't see any reason they can't. Scoring over their last 5, Taylor Hall has 2 helpers for the New Jersey Devils. Jesper Bratt with 1 goal, 1 assist, and Nikita Gusev with a goal and an assist. Severson with 1 helper, and Butcher with a goal and an assist. On the Montreal side, Gallagher a goal and 2 assists. Paul Byron with 1 goal. I think if he had shot, or that 2-on-1 tonight, he probably should have had a goal there. But anyways, Tatar with 3 goals and 5 assists in their last 5 games. They talked tonight about how he's not always in the coach's good graces, but he still puts up points. On the blue line, Sherratt, 2 goals, 3 assists, and Shea Weber, who's been fantastic, 4 goals and 3 assists for 7 points. Who would be crazy enough to trade Shea Weber? Anyways, Montreal pretty happy about where things are at right now. 11-5-3 is a pretty good record, and we'll see whether or not they can keep that up tomorrow night against a New Jersey team that, again, hot and cold, and they can beat a good team one night, and then the next night, it's Ottawa, and then they lose. And I can't figure it out. And if anybody can figure out, is it just John Hines, or is there more to it than that? Are you still on the fire John Hines bandwagon, or is that clearing out because the record's getting better in November? Or probably not. Once fans have decided a coach needs to go, it's really hard to convince them that that's not a problem. Next up, Rangers. Rangers are in against Florida. Again, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. The Rangers 8-7-2, and they've taken a real meandering way. They're going to be one of those teams at this rate that ends up finishing right around 500 for the season. Probably doesn't make the playoffs, but there's enough there that you feel like they can with the right changes. But there's enough wrong that you're like, oh, but when is it going to happen? In October, they were 4-5-1. So far in November, 4-2-1. They've got a good record in November. The problem is that 9-3 drubbing. Does it carry over into this at all? And they're against a very dangerous Florida team who are 9-5-5. They've won less than half the games they've played. But they do tend to push things into overtime / shootouts, and they're very unpredictable. You could have a 3-goal lead on Florida going into the third, and you blink your eyes and suddenly you're behind by 2. October, 6-3-4 was Florida's record. So far in November, they're 3-2-1. Now, in their last 5 games, Panarin has 2 goals and 7 assists for the Rangers. Buchnevich has a goal and 6 assists. And Lemieux a goal and 2 assists. I saw somebody comment that Lemieux's a dirty player after last night's game. Yep, absolutely. He chirps a lot, and he's a bit of a dirty player. His dad was Claude Lemieux. On the blue line, Hayek, 1 assist, and Adam Fox, 2 goals and 3 assists. On the Florida side, Huberdeau, 6 assists. Connolly, a goal and an assist. Hoffman, a goal and 3 assists on the blue line. Ekblad has a single goal, and Stralman has 1 assist in their last 5 games. Going back to Brendan Lemieux, while he may be disliked by fans of other teams, and he may flirt with crossing that line, and sometimes he crosses it ever so slightly, I do think that if he plays for your team, he'll be a very popular player. He's one of those guys. One of those very divisive kind of players. And for the Rangers, he is the kind of sandpaper that they need. And we'll see what kind of important role he plays going forward, and whether or not Capo Caco actually plays tomorrow night, or if he goes, after the last game, I might want to sit out with the flu. I think I feel something. Just, I don't know. My throat feels kind of warbly. Warbly's the thing. Look it up. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Obviously, he'll very, very likely be back in the lineup tomorrow night, and we'll see if that helps the Rangers. It really should. Kakko has 3 goals in the last 5 games he's played, so it really should make a difference. Moving along. And next up, we have the Islanders in against Philadelphia. 2 of the hottest teams in the league. Now, Philadelphia, yes, they lose tonight against Ottawa. That could drop them down in some people's eyes, but to me, I don't know. Ottawa just played a really good game, and I didn't think Philadelphia necessarily played bad. I thought that Nilsson kind of stole one. So 13-3-1 is the record for the Islanders. In October, they're 8-3. In November, 5-0-1. They haven't lost in regulation yet. On the Philadelphia side, they're 10-6-3. In October, they were 5-5-1. So far in November, they're now 5-1-2. That loss against Ottawa, that's the first loss they've had in regulation in the month of November. Yeah, it happens. It's not a big deal. On the Islanders side of things, Barzal has 2 goals, 3 assists in their last 5 games. Nelson with 2 assists, and Cizikas 3 goals and 2 assists overall. Pulock has 3 assists on the blue line, and Devon Taves 2 assists for the New York Islanders. On the Philadelphia side, Giroux with a goal and an assist, Couturier a goal and 2 assists, and Hayes, no points. They had a big article on, I'm trying to remember if it was Hockey News or ESPN, where they were talking about the great shape that Hayes is in, and how he's in the best shape of his life, and it's the best skating he's ever been, and how he's looking to put up record totals this year with Philadelphia. And then kind of buried at the end of it was the fact he's not scoring, and he only had 7 points in 18 games coming into tonight's game. And I was like, yeah, you can't just bury the fact that he's not scoring and talk about what great shape he's in. I've seen that before, where a player will change the way they play and they get into better shape, and it doesn't necessarily translate into points. And I'm not sure what that is. Sometimes a guy will lose a ton of weight, and then they'll have to gain it back in order to get back to where they were, but we'll see. Hey, it's still early in the year, so Hayes can pick up the scoring, and the Flyers could use that. Gostisbehere has an assist in their last 5 games, and Provorov with 2 helpers. So Philadelphia, good test for them with the New York Islanders, an Islanders team that, after seeing what happened to the Capitals tonight, I'm willing to defer to the Islanders right now and say probably the best team in the league right now. Probably. But I can't guarantee until tomorrow night's power rankings which one of those 2 may very well be the best. And we may end up seeing the Blues end up being the best, or, we'll see. All right, moving on. Toronto. So the Leafs coming off of a tough loss tonight. They lost a game against Boston that they could very well have won, and they just didn't. And this is kind of a Toronto thing. They're 9-8-4. So they've only won 9 out of 21 games. Fans aren't happy about the things Kyle Dubas said about the team being off to a bad start. They're not happy about the way that Babcock's putting it either. And so the fan discontent right now in Toronto, from what I've seen, is kind of high. Now, 6-5-3 was the record in October. They're 3-3-1 in November. They should be better than this. The one thing that I heard today, and I didn't do a video on it because I've already done a video on Toronto this week. I'll talk about it here. I believe it was on Tim and Sid that Sid Sixero said, here's the Leafs, one of the most talented teams in the league, and their talent. And I was thinking, well, wait, to a man, If we look at their roster and we put their roster up against other rosters in the league, how much actual pure top-end talent is there beyond the guys who make the big money? And because to me, there are depth issues on this roster, and it's not just on the blue line. So I thought that was a fascinating thing that I thought that would make for an interesting video. But again, I don't want to do too many Leaf videos, but I thought, that's interesting to say. There's a lot of top-end talent. There's a lot of pure talent on this team when I'm not sure how much there actually is beyond the big names. Now, on the Pittsburgh side, they're 10-7-2 in October. They were 8-5 in November. They're 2-2-2, and we know that a lot of their top-end talent's been getting hurt all year. And it's depending on the night. It might have been Malkin, might have been Hornquist, might have been Galchenyuk. You're looking at Letang being out of the lineup and Crosby being out of the lineup, and it's just been a complete and total kind of mess with Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh's looking for guys to come up and play like Blandisi and Lafferty and to play some good roles. And I think Marino's probably played a lot more this year than any of us had expected when they traded for him during the summer. On the Toronto side of things, over their last 5 games, Nylander with 4 goals, 2 assists, Tavares 3 goals and 4 assists, and Nick Shore with 1 assist. On the blue line, Riley with 2 helpers and Muzzin with 2 helpers. Morgan Riley is definitely slowed down from the scoring side of things. On the Pittsburgh side, Malkin, he's the guy now. As long as Crosby's out, it's up to Malkin. And seeing him on a line with, I believe it was Rust and Gensel tonight, good line. We'll see if he can have the kind of chemistry with Gensel that Crosby clearly has. So would Gensel be a 40-goal scorer playing on Malkin's wing? I think it's possible. We'll see how things go. Galchenyuk with 2 helpers over their last 5, and McCann with 2 goals, 4 assists, quietly putting together a pretty good season. On the blue line, Dumoulin with 2 helpers, and Justin Schultz with a goal and an assist. For Pittsburgh and Toronto, here's the thing. Murray played tonight for Pittsburgh. You got to think it's Jari tomorrow night. It will be Kaskisuo in net for Toronto. The battle of the backups is on. Jari's put up some pretty good stats so far this year with a .929 save percentage. Kaskisuo will be making his NHL debut, and he's doing it against a Pittsburgh Penguins team that doesn't have Sidney Crosby. And for a Leafs team that doesn't win in back-to-backs, this might be the best chance they get tomorrow night. They get the backup, and they don't have to worry about Sid the Kid. But Toronto, part of the frustration's been they haven't won the games they're supposed to. On the Pittsburgh side, they've won games they weren't supposed to due to injuries. So we'll see how things turn out tomorrow night. That being said, I have to change boards one more time. So we are finally into games that start later. These 2 start at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, meaning at that point there'll be 8 games on at the same time. Things get really hairy at that point. And then we get the 2 more later games. This one won't intersect with much of anything at all. So I'll be able to give some more attention to this than probably almost everything else that's on the board. So we have the Anaheim Ducks in against St. Louis. This is an interesting one. The Anaheim Ducks have completely frittered away that early start. They're 9-9-2. That early start is completely forgotten. St. Louis, on the other hand, is 12-3-5. So while they're coming off of a loss, and that's not much fun, the reality is they haven't lost in regulation in November yet. So in October, it was an 8-6 record for Anaheim. In November, it's been 1-3-2. They've only won 1 out of 6. On the St. Louis side, they're 7-3-3 in October, and then they follow that up with a November where they're 5-0-2. They seem to be getting better, despite their most recent fallback and all that. That being said, Anaheim, now's the time to turn it on. If you guys are going to avoid just completely dropping out of relevancy and maybe end up getting passed by the San Jose Sharks for good, now's a good time to start winning. Just get her done now. Henrique with 5 helpers over their last 5 games. Getzlaf with 2 assists and Steele with 5 assists. These are 3 guys that need goals. Henrique is a 30-goal scorer. Getzlaf, not known really as a goal scorer, but more than 0 would probably be good for him. On the blue line, Gooley with 1 assist and Cam Fowler with a goal and an assist to round things out on the Anaheim side. On St. Louis' side, Jaden Schwartz with 3 goals, 2 assists. Perron with a goal and 3 assists. And Barbashev with 2 goals and 1 assist. St. Louis has a very balanced attack. And yet Perron and O'Reilly, they're pretty good together. Not too bad. Pietrangelo on the blue line, 1 goal, 6 assists. If he does go to unrestricted free agency, somebody's going to give him too much money and too much term. Both. And I would be very surprised if St. Louis pays too much money and too much term to keep him because they really can't afford to. Gunnarsson, 1 assist. What I'm saying is watch Pietrangelo around the trade deadline. Things could get crazy. Because if you're not going to keep him and not re-sign him, do you trade him? Or do you say, you know what, we're going to try to win back-to-back cups. We'll let chips fall where they may in June and July and hang on to him. That's where things are going to get really interesting, and that's where Armstrong earns his money, right there. All right, moving along. Chicago and Nashville will go at it at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. 7-7-4 now is the record for Chicago. They're digging their way back into this thing, and quickly. And the interesting thing about it is that in October they were 3-6-2. In November, 4-1-2. So yeah, they're getting better. They're absolutely getting better. Sorry, sneezing fit. You guys don't need to hear that. So yeah, Chicago is getting better. On the Nashville side, at 9-6-3, maybe some panic. In October they were 8-3-2, and in November they're 1-3-1. They are the only team Vancouver's beaten in their last 5 games. So, is there reason for concern in Nashville? Probably. On the Chicago side of things, Dylan Strome with a goal and 7 assists in their last 5 games. Kirby Dach with 2 goals and 1 assist. And Ryan Carpenter, 2 helpers. On the blue line, Calvin DeHaan, goal and 2 assists. And Oli Mata with 2 helpers. So 2 newish defensemen for the Chicago Blackhawks in that they were new this season. Both of them playing pretty well over their last couple of weeks. On the Nashville side, Forsberg, 4 goals, 2 assists. Arvidsson with a goal and 3 helpers. And Kyle Turris with 1 goal. As every now and then we hear talk about him potentially being traded, and then it all just goes away. On the blue line, Yossi with 5 assists and Ekholm with 2 helpers to round things out for Nashville. So, again, I've seen some Nashville fans saying that they're very concerned, and I don't really blame them. Nashville's kind of built to win right now. And if this team struggles, or if they have issues and they end up not making the playoffs, or just barely missing, or getting in and being eliminated in the first round, there will be finger pointing to be done. And at what point does David Poile potentially end up getting a finger pointed in his direction? Because Poile's been the only general manager the team's ever had. He's a fantastic general manager. But is there going to be a point where Nashville says, or does it just wait until he retires? That's a question I've had with Nashville that dates back a long time. This isn't just something for this year. It's something I've thought for a long time of how long does he have back during other rebuild-ish processes they went through. They never really did a full rebuild in Nashville. They've always been kind of going on the fly. And their defense has been fantastic, and their drafting's been really solid. That being said, moving along. Vancouver will be at home against Colorado. Yes, I'm wearing Vancouver's jersey because I'm cautiously optimistic they're going to get better again. Cautiously optimistic is the term that I've been using the whole season, and I'm still cautiously optimistic when it comes to Vancouver. Now, Colorado's 11-6-2. In October, they were 8-2-2, and in November, they're 3-4. This team's gone through a lot of injury problems. Even if Sidorov's back, he's back with a cage. Come on, Vancouver. You got to do this. Vancouver's 10-7-3, and much like Anaheim, they've kind of frittered away their good start. They were 8-3-1 in October. November 2-4-2. So now that they're playing the better teams, we're starting to see some losses. McKinnon has 3 goals and 5 assists in their last 5 games on the Colorado side of things. Kadri, 1 goal, 4 assists. Tyson Jost with 3 assists. On the blue line, Graves, 1 goal, 3 assists, and Makar with 4 goals and 3 assists for Colorado. On the Vancouver side, Pettersson, 2 goals, 2 assists. He does seem to be squeezing the stick a little bit too hard and trying to stick handle through and do too much on his own. Keep it simple. Horvat with 2 assists. There's some of that going on in his game as well. Gaudette with a goal and 2 assists. He's battling really well and trying to force them to give him more ice time and make it so that when everybody's healthy, he just doesn't automatically go back to Utica. On the blue line, Edler with 2 assists. He got off to a very quick start this year. He's kind of lost that. And Quinn Hughes with 1 assist. Hughes has had his struggles over the last couple of weeks as well. He got caught up the ice in that Dallas game in a manner that I hadn't seen him get caught up the ice in the first couple of weeks. And again, when a team's struggling like this, you see guys trying to force plays. Where it's like, all right, it's up to me because we're not getting anything going. I'll do it. I'll get it. I'll do it. And this is usually the result where a team struggles will sometimes intensify, and you'll see more losses along the way. But optimism. A little bit of optimism in wearing their jersey for the preview for tomorrow. All right, last game of the day. is Detroit in against San Jose. And you know what? This is worth staying up for. Unless you're in Europe. If you're in Europe and you stay up until this one's on, you're better off setting your alarm for the middle of the night. But if you're going to get up in the middle, I don't know why this would be the game. I would think that almost any other... Anyways, Detroit's 7-12-2. That's a miserable record. But in October, they were 4-8-1. And so far in November, they're 3-4-1. So they've gone from bad to mediocre. That's improvement. It is too. And I am impressed with some of the things that go on with this team, including Anthony Mantha. 2 goals and 5 assists in their last 5 games, so 7 points. Athanasiou, 2 goals and 1 assist. If he starts getting goals, you're in good shape. Franz Nielsen has to get points, right? He's still stuck on 0. Hronek, 1 goal, 1 assist on the blue line. Bowie with a goal and 2 helpers. Now, on the San Jose side of things, they're 9-10-1. In October, they were 4-8-1, and in November right now, they're 5-2. If they can take advantage of a weaker opponent like Detroit, they can go to 6-2 on the month and get to 500. And if they get to 10-10-1, Anaheim loses in regulation. They pass their favorite team in the world, the Anaheim Ducks. Not really their favorite team in the world, but things get kind of interesting for San Jose if they can keep this up. Couture with 2 goals, 6 assists in their last 5 games. Timo Meier with 3 goals, 6 assists, so he's really picked it up. Joe Thornton with 2 assists. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near 50 points this year. Might hit 40 if he gets a little bit hot here and there, but that's not really what he's there for now. Erik Karlsson with 5 assists in their last 5 games, and Brendan Dillon with 2 assists as well in their last 5 games. So things have got better for San Jose, and Detroit, they're showing up and they're making teams work for it. And that's important too. Even when you're in a rebuilding year, you don't want a team that just goes out on the ice and just accepts losing happily. You want a team that fights, and Detroit is definitely a team that fights for every point they get. So there you go. You guys are all set for tomorrow's action, and the reviews that will come in, and then of course the power rankings tomorrow night as well. Thank you guys so much for your support and for watching and for everything you guys do, whether it's sitting through ads here and there, and the ads of course help pay for me to be able to do this, whether it's supporting on Patreon, which is greatly appreciated, whether it's hitting like on a video, whether it's commenting on a video, whatever it may be, I appreciate it greatly. And in this video I want to give a shout out to Zemerid and Zachary Rabakow, and I apologize for any butchering that may occur with names when I do this, but I wanted to throw that in at the end as well. It really helps. So, yeah, everything that people do to help, it's great. There's been a lot of emails that have come in this week, a lot of encouragement. That's greatly appreciated as well. People walking over to me when I'm at a game, and they're like, hey, thanks for what you do. I watch your videos every day. I take all of that in, and I always come out of that situation saying to my wife, you know, I really appreciate this. It makes a huge difference. Because there are days where I'm like, yeah, I'm tired or something else is going on, stuff I don't talk about on camera, and those words of encouragement really, really help. Sometimes they come in at the exact right moment when I need them. So thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.